What comes to mind when you think of magazines? Fashion, models, high-end advertisements. The world of fashion has evolved over time and is tapping into various outlets of media to spread information about the fast-growing industry. One of the outlets that has been proven to be successful is through the use of magazines.
In 1704, the first magazine was mainly read by the elite group. It was called The Review, which was published in London by Daniel Defoe. Moving forward to 1731, the term magazine was first used in the publication of the Gentleman's Magazine that was published in the American colonies. However, there were harsh problems with the magazines: unaffordable prices, limited variety of literacy, and similarities to newspapers of the time. By 1776, about 100 magazines had come along in the American colonies and in France.
Up until around this time, magazines were boring because it mostly had political content and wasn't really for everybody. The first notion of fashion illustrations began with the courts of aristocracy recording information about what they were wearing. In the late 1600s and 1700s, French women and dressmakers outside of the court relied on sketches to see what was being worn. The sketches were compiled in books that were reproduced and sold. By the 1780s, the French court had a number of journals circulating, and some were shared with others. In 1867, Harper's Bazaar began in the US, which provided illustrations of European designers. In 1892, Vogue was founded in the US to provide both illustrations and patterns. In the 1900s, fashion magazines began to feature photography, which was extremely groundbreaking and important for both industries.
From 1912 to 1925, La Gazette du Bon Temps is a leading French magazine by subscription only. The magazine was aimed to establish fashion as an art. According to the magazine's first editorial, the clothing of a woman is a pleasure for the eye that cannot be judged inferior to other arts. In the 1920s, American fashion magazines expanded content to feature journalism articles about women's suffrage.
In 1922, French designer Paul Perret wrote that Vogue is today one of the best methods of communication with a distinguished clientele on Vogue's 30th anniversary. In the 1930s, GQ and Esquire began covering men's fashion. In the 1940s, American fashion magazines featured articles about working women's fashion. In the 1960s, enhancements in color printing reduced costs and improved both quality and quantity of magazines that were available.
In the 1970s, there was an increase in the advertising load to include accessories and perfumes. In the 1980s, fashion media such as cable television began to compete with magazines. On year 2000, many online fashion sites are launched.
Can't say I remember, honestly. Actually, no, probably last week I read a Sports Illustrated magazine.
Can't remember, probably a couple months ago.
Oh, it's been a while. Maybe a month.
Fashion? Is Vogue? Is that one?
Can't say I can.
I really like Vogue and Cosmopolitan, obviously, for multiple different reasons other than just fashion.
Yeah, Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, Eastman, it's like a catalog. And then I think like ESPN magazine.
Vogue and People magazine.
I don't know, I guess like seeing like what new like gear like the athletes are wearing in games and stuff.
See like what famous people are wearing.
I like to think that Vogue is like probably the queen of fashion magazines. So when new seasons come along, I like to look at like what's going to be in style and what's not.
Just having a lot more advertisements on them, and I don't know. Yeah.
Probably a lot less of them with like technology and like websites and stuff.
Non-existent. I can see, if anything, everything being on the internet to begin with.
Elle, Glamour, and Vogue are popular fashion magazines today. You most commonly see magazines in the grocery store, nail and hair salons, and pretty much anywhere someone will be waiting or sitting for more than 5 minutes. And that includes bathrooms at home. Magazine owners either buy them from the checkout section or they might have a subscription.
Even though not everyone can afford the items on the magazines, the fashion magazines itself are available for everyone to access online or in print.